Morning from Sydney, where the Lions have named the final team of their 2025 Tour of Australia for the last test as they go in search of a 3-0 victory over the Wallabies at the Accor Stadium, which is now sold out for what will be the Lions' last game on Australian soil this year and for 12 years, really. Big news from Irish point of view is that James Ryan is starting. He's into the second row. Joe McCarthy hasn't been selected. We kind of expected him to be brought back in after they said he'd be returning to training this week, but unfortunately he hasn't made it. So James Ryan, who was brilliant on the bench last week in Melbourne at the MCG, as the Lions came from behind to beat the Wallabies, he's in alongside Maro Itoje in the second row. There's two changes. The other one sees Blair Kinghorn come on the left wing ahead. Ireland's James Lowe. No place for Matt Hansen, who misses out of the Test series altogether. Again, he came back to training this week, but obviously didn't do enough to win his place. No place in the 23 for James Lowe at all, because the Lions have gone for a 6-2 bench split with Ben Earl getting the nod alongside Jack Morgan. And again, no place for Josh van der Veer. For the third test running, the Ireland flanker has been left out of the match day 23 and will not play in a test match during this series. Australia, well, they've made more changes. Taniela Tupou comes in at tight head prop in place of the injured Alan Alatoa. They have Dylan Beach, the winger from the Western Force, who did really well against the Lions in Perth in their opening weekend. Here, he comes into the wing for Harry Potter. Nick White comes in, an unenforced change for his final cap. He's decided to retire, and he'll see out his career as a Wallaby against the Lions, coming in for Jake Gordon. And the other change is injury enforced. Rob Valentini, who was so good in that first half last weekend, he misses out because of that calf injury. Tom Hooper, the Brumbies back row, comes into the team. There's no place for Carlo Casano, the man at the centre of that Ferrari with Jack Morgan. And that final clear out that's been such a talking point here in Australia this week. Casano, he was fit enough to train today, Joe Schmidt said. He said he hadn't done enough in the week, and also he'd taken 50 G of force in that collision. I've been subject to lots of abuse on social media, and they decided to take him out of the firing line as a result. And so Schmidt goes back to a 5-3 bench with Andrew Kellaway, the Waratahs back three player, coming back onto the bench. He was on the bench and came off the bench in that first test. So it's the last team announcement on the tour. It's still a very strong Lions team, even with those two changes. You could argue Kinghorn and Ryan are four players, having done so well last weekend. The Lions fans, well, they've been here all week, but there's lots of them arriving as the weekend approaches. As I mentioned earlier, it's sold out in Sydney, so that series defeat for the Wallabies hasn't put off Australia fans from picking up those last few tickets and coming to see the Lions for the final time before they leave Australian shores. It does look like an advantage for the Lions. Joe Schmidt talked about how hard it's going to be to pick up his team after the crushing defeat in Melbourne at the MCG at the death that Hugo Keenan try. Keenan keeps his place. Tommy Freeman's still in the back three as well. But the Yankees sees off Sione Tuipulotu, Hugh Jones in midfield alongside him. It's still going to be the same half-backs with Gibson, Fark and Russell. Same front row with Mike Furlong going to be coming a 9-test line. And his 9th consecutive start for the Lions. Maro Itoje is also going to play with 9 consecutive Lions tests, although he did come off the bench once in the first test with New Zealand in 2017. But what an achievement for those two players. They've been heavily influential here during this series. Two big leaders, obviously Itoje's the captain, but every time you watch the Lions documentaries they put out, Furlong has been such a key leader and key driver for this team. And Joe Schmidt talked brilliantly about him, and having given Furlong his first cap for Ireland back in 2015 and seen him at the Leinster Academy. See him now, a legend of the game, really, possibly playing his final Lions test, albeit would you really back against Tyke Furlong making it back in 4 years' time? We'll see. But anyway, for now, the series is over, but the Lions are going for a clean sweep. The Wallabies are looking to salvage some pride. The series, well, that ship has sailed for them. The Lions still feel like they've got some unfinished business on Australian soil.